I'm here today to review a book, and that is a book that I read quite recently, and that is Butcher's Crossing by John Williams. Now, first of all, let me just tell you that John Williams is the author who also wrote Stoner, which is very famous. I loved that book simply because it was so simple and it was so fascinating. So, when I heard that John Williams was coming out with a new book here in Denmark, I immediately requested a review copy. Here we have it. This book came out in Denmark on May the 8th, which is very recently, but it has already been out in the rest of the world, at least in America, I believe, and in Great Britain, for some months now. So if you want to read this book yourselves, then you can definitely do so. Now, first of all, let me just tell you about the cover, because I really like this cover, because it really represents the book. It's a western, and it's about bisons and bulls and being in the western part of the country. I think that even though this cover is kind of dark and black, it really represents the book, and I love that. Let's get to the content. This is a book about Andrews, who lives in 1873. He is a student at Harvard, but he decides all of a sudden to break up from his studies to go to the West because he would like to see what it's like to live in the Western field and to really experience Western life himself. That's his excuse for going to a Western city called Butcher's Crossing, of course. This is when it gets interesting, because this city, this town, this Western town is so vividly described. It felt like I was in a Western myself, and I love that. I could sense the dust in my mouth. I could imagine the saloon with the bar and all the people, all the men sitting there drinking, and I was just so fascinated by this setting because I had expected a Western from this book, and I definitely got it. So that part was amazing. Now, Andrews, our main character, decides to go on this hunt for bisons with 3 other men, and this is basically a story about their journey. And that's all I'm going to say about the synopsis. Let me just get into my non-spoilery review. Let me just put down this book. It's quite heavy. Yes, there you have it. Anyway, what do I think of this book? First of all, as I said, I'm fascinated. There is something about John Williams' writing that is absolutely captivating. He has a way of describing very mundane things in a very beautiful way, and I love that about his books. This one is no exception. As I said, we had a vividly described Western setting, and I love that. But also the journey that these men go on, that was so captivating. I often held my breath because I didn't want for things to happen, and then they happened, and I was kind of trying to foresee what would happen, and then I was kind of right, but at the same time I was so surprised, and I love that. This book gave me so many great reading experiences, so that was great. Another thing that I found interesting was the main characters. Now, we have one main character, Andrews, but we also have the 3 other men that he goes on a journey with. And each man is absolutely unique. Like, they are so different from each other. One of the men is called Snyder, and he was being a pain in the ass, basically. I know that's how he's supposed to be, but I wanted to smack him quite often. And then we have another man who was the leader. He was the man who knew about what was going on. He made all of the important decisions. And he was also being kind of a pain in the ass, but in another way. So we have these 2 unique characters who are very different from each other, but at the same time I just wanted to smack them in the face. And then we have the 3rd man who is very quiet. He's just there because he is there to help them, basically. And what I want to say with these men is that I liked that they were so different, because you were kind of rooting for them, and then that fascination for these men changed, so that I would admire one man in one part of the book, but then that admiration would change during the book. And I think that's interesting, because that's something that you have to be able to do as an author. Not every author is able to do these shifts in their books, and I admire it when it happens. Basically, this is a Western if you like westerns, or if you would like to want to read a western, because this is my first western I have ever read, then this is the book for you. Definitely grab this book. I highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. And I have now been confirmed that I really like John Williams and his books. So I'm sure that when he comes out with another book in Denmark, I am going to grab it immediately. And that's all I have to say about this book. I hope I maybe inspired some of you to pick it up and read it. Let me know in the comments if you've already read it, because then we can start discussing. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day, everyone. Happy reading and bye bye.